Hey Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name is Gary.
My name is Mark. Sorry for the weird microphone button issues.
My name's Maria.
I'm Jordan.
My name's Harry.
And my name's Matt.
And welcome to the October Roundtable. Oh, we just had a moment, listener. It was amazing. As you guys know, those of you that listen to these roundtables on a regular basis will know that we have a 99% fail rate where it concerns technology and remote recording and all the joys that come with that stuff. Today, however, we're all sitting very nervously, not touching any buttons, nothing. Everything's working. It's quite amazing. We'll see how far this goes throughout the episode, but for now, everything's cool. So welcome to another roundtable. I hope you are keeping well, dear listener. I hope you've all had a cracking week. These guys might join in. And that you've all managed to do something Doctor Who...
Related.
Yes. It's going from strength. This is amazing. What do I need to write this down or make a note of something? The Tuesday the 24th. This is where it all went right. This is like a Doctor Who episode. You know, like when they do those flashback scenes. You know, when people were happy before the apocalypse. Right, so we hope you're keeping well. Hope you're keeping safe. In this episode of the Roundtable, rough everyone together, we've got Mark, Maria, Jordan, Harry and Matt. And we're going to chat through a little bit of news snippets that have dropped over the last day or two, the last week. And then as it's the kind of pseudo-Halloween episode, I guess, we're going to talk about our creepiest moments from Doctor Who. Now, this is a common one. We've done this before. I think we've done a couple of blog articles where you can go and check out our recommended episodes to watch at Halloween. I think we did that like 4 or 5 years ago or something. So since then, we've got obviously newer Doctor Who in that time, maybe some Big Finish, whatever you guys want to talk about. But we will go through that. But before we get on to all of that, let's see how you all are. Mark, how you doing, buddy?
I'm very well. Yeah. Not been up to. I've read John Levine's autobiography. There you go. There's a Doctor Who thing I've done.
Was that a slog or an easy one?
It's fascinating. It's utterly fascinating. I really recommend it because I read a lot of celebrity autobiographies, and a lot of them are good, but a lot of them kind of descend into kind of just a kind of list of achievements. The John Levine books, one of the most fascinating things I've ever read because it's most interesting when he's no longer in Doctor Who.
I see.
And it's about kind of all the stuff he does afterwards. And it's I really recommend it if you enjoy the work of Steve Coogan as Alan Partridge, I would say.
Okay, it's in that kind of... okay,
it's
cool.
Very accidental Partridge.
Cool.
But quite entertaining.
Sounds good. Okay, and yeah, you've been busy as usual, writing plenty of stuff. Well, what's the last article that you did? It was for was it what? No, what?
I've done. Oh, God knows, mate. The most recent thing I did a theory for the 60th that I've kind of pieced together from Russell's teasers of Noel Gordon and things like that. Which I won't, because obviously, in case I'm right, it's a massive spoiler, so I'll say no more.
Okay, cool. Well, glad you're doing well, dude. Maria, how are you?
Oh, I'm fine, Gary. I have done a couple of things that are Doctor Who related. Was out gadding about, really, to be honest. Went to a Riverside Studios event. They were showing some classic episodes. It was called Sea and Space. So they showed the Underwater Menace episode 2 and the Wheel in Space.
1 second, Maria.
6. Oh, hello.
1 sec. I think your mic is rubbing on on something.
Oh, maybe it's because I'm moving. Maybe it's because I'm moving my head. I'll try not to move my head.
You jinxed it, Gary. You shouldn't have written the date down.
I know. Yeah.
Okay,
I told you not to move.
I'm holding this now, so hopefully it's not doing anything. So I was at Riverside Studios recently. So we went. Jordan was there as well. We went to see those classic episodes, and they had some guests there which were quite interesting. So they had Wendy Padbury was there. She'll always come out for an event, but they had some people behind the scenes, and actor Michael Troughton was there as well. So Patrick's son. I've never met him before, so it was really interesting having a chat with him. And there were some other people there that were, as I say, behind the scenes. There was a makeup artist called Sylvia James, and I'm just trying to think who else was there. There was another actor as well, someone who's been in the Raiders of the Lost Ark films, Korvac Malaikan.
Okay.
So that was a really nice event to go to. Tristan DeVere was interesting to have a chat to. He's the director of The Wheel in Space, and he was at one of the tables, and we were having a chat about some of the books that he's brought out, because he's actually brought out some really interesting stuff. He's brought out some books for actors, but there's a book that he's brought out about he's the illegitimate son of a famous artist, and we were having a chat about that, and he was a bit suggestive towards me, I have to be honest, so that was a bit of a surprise.
He was very, very strange.
He was very cheeky for a man of his years, that's all I'm going to say. But his first book that he's written, as I say, it's about his story as the illegitimate son of an artist, and it's got quite a provocative title. I'm not going to say it on the podcast, but he was actually a very interesting character to talk to. So that was the first event I went to, and then I was at the BFI on Saturday, where we saw the animation of the Underwater Menace.
Nice. Cool.
Which was actually it's a really good animation actually. I think the animations are actually getting better and better. The way they look actually, they don't look as clunky as some of the older ones. And everyone was having a really good time. I mean, I thought it was just going to be a preview of the animation, but they also had some guests there as well. So Mark Ayres was there talking about the soundtrack and obviously the work that he'd done around that, and then they had the animation team there as well. So Anne-Marie Walsh was there with a couple of her colleagues, and they were talking about obviously the production of the animations, and they did confirm actually that there is another animation in the pipeline, but they didn't say what it was, so we can guess what that might be. But
okay.
they were reluctant to kind of say anything more than that, because I get a sense that they work on one animation at a time, so they don't always know, that they will get commissioned again, for lots of different animations. Ian Levine was there, and he asked a question in the Q&A, basically asking them to confirm, whether they were going to be doing more. He begged them to kind of do all of them if they could, but I think it obviously depends on how much money they get from BBC Studios and whether they'll continue funding them to do all of them.
I see.
But I think on the wish list they would like to do all of them at some point, all the missing episodes anyway.
Gotcha. Okay, so you've just been out and about really, as usual. Event hopping.
I haven't really watched any Doctor Who, to be fair, except when I was out gadding about. So, that was my month, really.
Cool. Nice one. Jordan, what have you been up to, buddy?
Me and Maria have done a couple of events. So, the Riverside one, which was really good. I really liked meeting Michael Troughton. He was lovely. I said, I was chatting to him and I said, would your dad be surprised the Doctor Who is still going 60 years later? And he was like, I think he'd be more surprised that it's been bought by Disney than, that Disney have got something involved in it now, than the fact that it was going on for 60 years, especially when, we were chatting in the queue and a lot of people said the scene at the beginning of The Underwater Menace with Polly and the needle. He said, I think that, he went, the fact that Disney are like, oh yeah, no, that's fine. He went, I think that's what Dad would be more surprised about, is the fact that they were buying that. And then obviously we did The Underwater Menace at the BFI. Now, it's not a great story. I'm not going to, say, The Underwater Menace is fantastic. I didn't realise it is actually as funny as it is. There are some, and not funny as in, oh, look at the fish people. There were some genuinely hysterical lines that I didn't know about. So I actually quite enjoyed it. I don't think I'm going to be thinking it at the very bottom of a list anymore. And then after we did that, Maria and I went and got soaked because we walked around the back of Waterloo and we went to see where sort of a lot of Remembrance of the Daleks was being filmed.
Oh,
so
cool.
we did
Shadwell.
a lot of the yard and everything that they go into, and the bridge where the special weapons Dalek blows everybody up. And we got absolutely soaked, but I think we had a good time.
It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, to be honest, but we did get wet. But yeah, what Jordan was saying about the classic lines in that story, there are some real kind of really funny lines. Everyone kind of cheered at one point when Professor Zaroff kind of said, "Nothing in the world can stop me now." Everyone kind of cheered because they all knew that line was coming. So I think everyone had a good time. It was a really, it was a really nicely done animation. It's not the greatest story, but it's fine that they've animated it.
Yeah, cool. Sounds like you had a good couple of days, dudes. There was talking of funny lines at the BFI. I remember when Adam and I went to see the Talons of Wang Chiang at the BFI, and I've never seen a bunch of Who fans hesitantly laugh at anything at all, because normally at the BFI, you're absolutely right, guys. You do have these lines where you wouldn't necessarily laugh if you're at home watching it, but when there's everyone there, it kind of has a different vibe. But you could just see everybody glancing to one side like, that's not racist, is it? That bit wasn't racist, was it? No, cool, yeah, we're going to laugh at that bit, awesome. And then there's another funny bit and everyone's like, was that? I think it was, right, stum. Keep you, especially, keep it stum. So yeah, I totally see what you mean with with laughing at the BFI. So, all right, nice one, guys. Harry, what have you been up to other than a professional hacker these days?
I just wanted to mention how when you were talking about Underwater Menace, I imagined Professor Zaroff as a cartoon saying "Nothing in the world can stop me now," and I'm like, I've got to see this. So I might just pre-order that now.
Than how it originally was.
Is it actually?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah, I might, because I actually watched it recently, the surviving episodes and the telesnaps, and I thought this isn't that bad. It's a bit schlocky, but it's fun. But yeah, other than that, I also watched the Moon Base as well. But that's it. No Doctor Who. Nothing to report here. Very uneventful, I'm afraid, on the Doctor Who front.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no I'm kind of saving all the Doctor Who stuff for next month. With it coming to iPlayer and the specials and all that. Like, it's going to be a big Doctor Who month next month. Oh, I also subscribe to Doctor Who magazine. I forgot about that. Yeah, I'm a subscriber of the magazine now. gets delivered to my door. I get those nice textless covers, which is cool.
I was going to say, did you do the physical or the digital one? Okay, so you get the actual mag turn up. Nice.
Physical, absolutely. No, the idea of a digital mag is preposterous to me.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus. Oh, nice one, dude. Matthew, down in tractor country. How you been, dude?
Yeah, I've been very well, thank you. No, I've been very well, thank you, Garry. Doctor Who wise, well, listeners of the previous roundtable might remember my frustrations with the B&M hunting for a certain TARDIS set, and a man that may or may not look like David Hasselhoff, so I'm told. Because of the lovely, lovely Maria, I can now say that I am a proud owner of said TARDIS, and yes, it's a wonderful piece to behold. And yes, thank you very much, Maria. Apart from that, the other Doctor Who thing I've done, I think we are rewatching Rose. We're watching Doctor Who from Rose, and we're just going to try and complete it before the specials. However far-fetched that may sound, because there's rather a few. But yeah, that's the plan. We're currently... Last night we watched The Girl in the Fireplace. So it's slow going, but we're getting there.
You're getting there. Nice.
Yeah. I don't think I've done anything other. I've caught up on the Once and Future series on Big Finish. I was very far behind. I'd only listened to one, but I've now caught up, and I've seen something to say that is it the final or the penultimate might be released tomorrow, and very looking forward to that. The standouts would be the Christopher Eccleston story and the Fifth Doctor with Jenny. Absolutely fantastic stories.
Oh, okay. Yeah, nice.
That's about it, really.
That's about it. Okay, so I mean, this is fairly typical, isn't it, of Doctor Who? When you start ramping up to new stuff, you normally have a bit of a calm before the storm, I guess, before it all kicks off. Typically speaking, unless you're in the Chibbers era, in which case it's just the calm, and then yeah,
not even a storm. It was just a little drizzle, you know.
Come on now.
I'm sorry.
Don't be mean about Chris. We've seen a lovely video of him, Russell and Steve.
It was having lovely. And the podcast as well that he did recently. He did like a 3-4 hour interview on some other podcast.
The Corner to Corner. Yeah.
Yeah, he came across really well in that. Yeah, he's great.
Yes, so yeah, Harry immediately jumped into destroying the guy. He's all right. He's okay.
Force of habit, Garry.
What's he working on now? Do we know what is he working on? Anything new? Mark, you'll probably know.
Something secret.
Secret.
I feel like he does say on that podcast that he's working on something, but I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I think was he not kind of saying like, I've done Doctor Who, I'm going to be a dad for like a year or something.
Oh right.
But then I guess if you're a screenwriter, you probably say that, and then an idea pops into you and you go, oh, actually, maybe that's a thing. But yeah, I think he is working on something, but I don't hold me to that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anyway, he's a top guy. Very much appreciate all of the work that he did on Doctor Who. So, yes. Right, should we do some news? What's been going on? So, I don't know if you guys want to talk about the trailer. I don't know if we've had a chance to talk about that. I'll get your thoughts on that very, very briefly. But there was a news story that dropped yesterday. Just want to get your guys' opinion on this. Is mad. So the BBC announced that Ncuti has begun shooting his second series as the Doctor, which is pretty crazy in itself, right? Because as always, as with a lot of stories, the comments are typically, more entertaining than the actual story. So the story is a bit of a nothing, really. It's just, filming starts today. Nshute's second series, which is astonishing in terms of so much has happened in terms of production for new Doctor Who, and we've not seen anything yet. That's the cool part of it. But a lot of the people in the comments were going, hey, well, we haven't even seen the first one yet, so why are you announcing this? I mean, this is like the opposite. I know I just said about Chris Chibnall, but this is like the opposite to Chris Chibnall. If he was still running the show, we wouldn't know any of this. It would be all under wraps, everything. So what do you guys think to this? And then very quickly, your thoughts on the latest trailer, Mark. What do you make of this?
I think it's great. I mean, it's worth pointing out, of course, that there was about a year between the finished filming Power of the Doctor and it actually going on screen. So whilst, yes, it's absolutely remarkable that we're already on Ncuti Gatwa's second series, it's not been quite the kind of rapid turnaround that I think some people on the internet think that it has been. But I think it's great. I think what's interesting about it is that if we're going into the anniversary, a couple of episodes into season 15 being filmed, that does give me the sense that they've got quite a long plan for Ncuti Gatwa, which is you film 2 series back to back, you give him a little break, where he can go off and do other things, maybe there was an interview he did where he wanted to go back on stage and do some theatre work. You get that possibility because you've got 2 years of television already wrapped up and ready to go. And then you can kind of bring him back once he's kind of spread his wings a little bit, do a little bit more. It feels like a much more sustainable way of making Doctor Who. Obviously, it must be quite tough in that initial sense, but it seems like quite a good way to do it. And I wonder if it is because of the Disney Plus and the added money that there's a sense of having to have a lot of stuff in the bank to ensure a kind of steady stream of, and I hate this word, content for Disney Plus, essentially. Because the BBC don't care, because the BBC are, just a state broadcaster. But obviously the whole reason behind Russell coming back is that they're wanting it to be this kind of global streaming thing. And I think you get a sense of that in the trailer for the specials. Obviously we've been saying Doctor Who's never looked this cinematic since the 11th hour. But Doctor Who's never looked this cinematic. That big Avengers Tower and giant ventriloquist dummy Neil Patrick Harris and stuff like that. It looks like a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, nice. Yeah. You make a very good point. I've not considered that before, where we've heard previous actors who have played the Doctor absolutely just feel like it's taken 10 years off of their life after playing it, because I've no idea who makes the schedule, whether it's the showrunner or the production team or a combination of both, but they just felt like it was a year-round slog and they couldn't do anything else and they were just so tired. And so maybe if they just power through, get all this stuff done, and then he's off to do whatever he wants to do for a bit before coming back. Just very quickly, how many seasons do you think we'll have from Ncuti? Just a number.
4. I reckon he'll do 2 double-banked 2-season blocks, and then maybe he's gone. That's my thinking.
Alrighty. Okay. Harry, what do you make to this story, and how many series do you think he'll stick around for?
Well, I kind of think he'll do... I think he'll do 3. That's my instinct.
Why do you think 3?
Well, purely because the last few Doctors... the modern Doctors, bar Eccleston, have all done 3, so it just seems kind of predictable at this point. But having said that, they are doing shorter seasons and they seem to be banking them up. So maybe that means that Ncuti will end up doing 4 seasons, which would be, I guess, the equivalent of doing 3 longer seasons, kind of like Capaldi and the others. So yeah, but I don't know. We'll see. I do reckon that he'll probably leave with Russell T Davies as well. I have a feeling that's going to happen. But this is all just pure speculation, of course. There's no reason to believe that anything will happen one way or the other. But
I've already seen people speculating who the next showrunner is today, because they've announced the 2 writers for I think it's for series 15 rather than 14.
It is, the 2.
One of them worked on Loki, right?
Yeah, and people that also they're sort of priming her as the next Doctor Who showrunner. It's like, whoa, all right, great, sure, but maybe let's just calm down a minute.
Let's just be in the moment, man. I mean, and
Yeah.
this is another thing as well. Actually, like when I saw the post yesterday about Ncuti's second season, I was like, what, already? Like, we've not had a chance to meet this Doctor yet, and to, like, you know, fall in love with him and all the rest of it. I think, yeah, I don't know. It caught me off guard, sure. And yes, I'll admit, I did also have that sort of YouTube comment section reaction of, oh, what? But we've not even got the first season yet. What is this? This is preposterous, you know. But yeah, I mean, it's great, you know. The more Doctor Who, the better, as far as I'm concerned. And also as well,
true.
you know, it makes sense, like, to sort of structure the production of Doctor Who in this way, because it makes it more attractive, I think, from an actor's point of view. Like Mark says, you know, bank up 2 seasons, you know, you have that portrayal of the Doctor in the public consciousness, you know, like, you know, not scattered like over like long periods of times. I'm trying not to bash Chris Chibnall, but you know, you have that annual Doctor Who, and then the main actor can, you know, go off and do other things. I mean, I think Ncuti Gatwa was on about, like, going off and doing theatre after he's done his second season of Doctor Who, and you know, because he sort of started in the theatre and that's his bread and butter. So you know, I mean, it's great, like, from an industry point of view. That's pretty good.
Yes, yeah. And it's a strange one, isn't it, with the whole Doctor. I think David Tennant said it in an interview early on when he was doing season, you know, he was doing his, like, a series of interviews on his exit out when he was making the specials, when they were still doing Confidential. I think he said Doctor Who is the strangest thing, because as soon as you're announced as the Doctor or the showrunner, people immediately want to know when are you leaving? Like, when are you going to bugger off so we can get a new person? So it's a bizarre old game, isn't it? Doctor Who. But okay, so you reckon 3 and then potentially an exit with Russell. Okay. Maria, holding your microphone steadily out in front of you. Do you think it's cool that we've got a couple of series? Well, we've got one series banked. We're going to have another one done soon with Ncuti. And do you think he'll stick around, or is this a 2 or 3 season and out?
Yeah, I do think it's cool that he's doing his second series already. I mean, he seems like quite an energetic actor, so, you know, and he's young enough to kind of cope with the pace of it, I suppose. So yeah, I think it's really cool that he's doing that, and, you know, he'll probably stay. I reckon, as Mark says, he'll probably stay for 4 series. I've got a feeling that Russell will stay for 4 series. You know, I think he's kind of made a commitment by coming back to Doctor Who, and I think he's going to give it. You know, both he and Ncuti will kind of stick it out together for 4 series, and then, you know, and then obviously we'll see what happens after that. But no, I think it's really exciting. You know, it's really positive news. I mean, they are doing shorter seasons, so you know, as Harry said, it probably evens out to 3 of the normal series, you know, that they used to do.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, cool. Matt, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's, well, it took me by surprise yesterday, I must say, but I think it's great. I think it's very clever planning to maybe have time spare for spin-off filming. I've seen and I've heard lots of rumours about spin-offs, and if half of them are true, we're in for a hell of a treat. Do I think all of them are true? No, and you know, chances are none of them will be. But yeah, no, I think maybe that might be the reason behind it. Also, I think it's a great idea to, like you say, keep the actor from getting worn out from playing the role and kind of wanting to leave instead of loving that role and wanting to stay, and because I have so much fun doing this, and you know, I can't wait to come back and film some more Doctor Who, because I've had this break, and I feel rejuvenated and re-energized to do it.
Yeah, true. Yep.
Yeah, I would probably say, I think... it's also worth noting that the episodes may be short. The episode number may be shorter, but the episodes are an hour instead of 45 minutes. Isn't that
all of them?
I think. I think that's right. I think I saw it in Doctor Who magazine.
Harry?
Could be wrong. I could be sounding like an absolute fool, but I believe that's right. So if so, then it still kind of works out the same. It's just shorter, but longer at the same time.
Harry, you got Doctor Who magazine. Can you confirm this or not?
I mean, I think we know that the 3 specials are an hour and the Christmas special is an hour. I don't remember reading anything about all the episodes being an hour long. But that might just be my shoddy memory, so don't quote me on it.
Okay. That'd be interesting if they're all an hour. I mean, that's a lot of... So what can you guys just refresh my memory? Is it a 6-episode series? Or an 8 episode? Is it 8?
I think it's
8 episodes with a Christmas special. So
with a special
9.
So 9. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So 8 episodes, all an hour long. I mean, that's in today's world of TV, if you think about Stranger Things and all that sort of jazz, that's what was Stranger Things. Was that 6? Maybe 8, and they were all like, I think one of them was like an hour and 35 or an hour and 40.
The last season,
yeah.
Series finale of the last one was like 2.5 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Stranger Things, the movie.
Yeah. So if Disney Plus have having a bit of an influence on that stuff from a content for streaming thing, then that kind of makes sense, I guess. Yeah. So you might be right, Matt. Okay, and Jordan... Sorry, Matt, were you finished, dude?
No, I was just going to say, I reckon he'll do probably 4 seasons.
4, right.
And then, maybe a couple of specials. Obviously, aside from the Christmas specials. I reckon he might match Tennant.
Gotcha.
And then, see where it goes from there.
Oh, okay. Same question and thoughts to you, Jordan?
I was quite surprised to see that they were filming already. But yeah, that makes sense to sort of then be able to give Shoot Together, and assuming she's not a one-series companion, Millie Gibson, a chance to go and do sort of other things and then come back to it. And like Matt said, some of the stuff that I've seen kind of teased that might be coming along. So it's, if we're getting spin-offs, then I think you would have enough stuff to fill the year. My head is saying he's going to do 3, mainly because that's what pretty much all of the new Doctors have done. But I kind of want him to stay for more. I kind of want him to be the longest one. And the trailer, I was quite impressed that I was like, oh my God, Doctor Who finally has like a budget. And it looks amazing, and it looks like you could go to the cinema and watch it, and it would, be quite good. Okay, all right, ignoring the fact that Unit now looks like Stark Tower, but how, that was good. You had the Meep, there was that soldier that everybody was thirsting over on Twitter. Catherine Tate's back, Donna, David Tennant's back. But my one question with the trailer is, who on earth gave Unit the insurance for another tower? Given what happened to their last one at the end of Power of the Doctor, who on earth gave them that insurance? A woman is probably who
multi-plan.
did that.
Yep.
You're talking about the British government who wrote off like a £4 billion tax fraud during COVID. I mean, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
They'll just keep throwing money away. It's all right.
It's in the kitty somewhere.
And when that thing inevitably comes down, it's... But
yeah, it will do, won't it? There's going to be something that crashes into Unit Tower, and that's another one gone. Yeah.
But
okay.
But no, it looks good, and it's nice that it looks like Doctor Who's got money being thrown at it.
Yeah, the Mickey Mouse money. Yeah. I think I'm going to go against the grain on this one, guys. Partly. I think Shooty will be around for 3 or 4 series. But I think Russell's going to stay for longer. I think, I think it was potentially too high risk for thinking about, and this is my cynical brain a little bit, but thinking about Doctor Who as a business thing. I think if there is a lot of money being, and let's face it, there is a lot of money being, it's a bit like Kanye West has walked into Bad Wolf Studios and has just gone nuts with it, because you guys have probably seen in the news and everything about the iPlayer story with the Anthony Coburn's, is it son or nephew, that won't allow an unearthly child to be put on there, and he said that the thing was reasonable. So that makes me think that the BBC or Bad Wolf or whoever, Disney, have had to shell out a bit of money to get the rights to all the other classic Who, right, to put on iPlayer. It's not just that one story. So that's expensive in itself. And then you've got, all the normal things that don't need to go through, or production in itself and actors' fees and all that jazz. But then we've also got, as you guys were saying, it's extremely cinematic. There's a lot of budget thrown into it. So I think because there's a lot on the table, not just, and I don't want to get into this too much, and if there are people who are listening who are big fans of Chibber's era and Jodie's era, that this is not I'm not throwing shade in any way, shape or form, but it hasn't exactly been all roses in that era in terms of viewing figures, user, I don't know what is it like, the user quality rating, whatever it's called, the user acceptance rating, whatever it's called.
Appreciation index?
Appreciation index, that's exactly it. Thank you, Harry. It hasn't exactly been all roses with that stuff. So there's that on the line to kind of bring the show hopefully back up. So Russell's like the key to that, I guess.
I think you're right. On the one hand, I think absolutely Russell, I think he'll stay, but he won't necessarily still be showrunner. I think he'll be kind of like Star Trek has at the moment. They've got Alex Kurtzman, who is kind of the executive producer of the whole franchise, and so has input on story ideas and spin-off ideas and stuff like that, but no longer kind of writes any episodes or anything like that. I think that's probably where Russell's probably going to end up. But in terms of the Chibnall stuff, and again, I don't want to do this kind of RTD versus Chibnall. Mm-hmm. I think what we're going into is an era where ratings no longer really matter. Because if you look at those Disney shows, you look at the Marvel shows, the Star Wars shows, they only get about 2 million views per episode internationally, or something like that. So it's no longer about how many eyes you've got on the night. It's about sort of a consistent flow of Doctor Who and a consistent engagement with it, which as much as the ratings have dipped since Christopher Eccleston to Jodie Whittaker, there's always been a consistent 3 million people watching Doctor Who, and that's just in the UK alone. So I think it's in fairly good nick heading into this kind of new era of streaming. Yeah.
I don't think it was. I'm not saying that it was a disaster, that it needs rescuing, but I do think there's probably there has to be some kind of return on the investment from those people, right? It has to be, because you can't just throw all that money at it and then. And I totally agree with what you were saying as well. The old days where it's like TV shows were judged on the nightly viewers, and then it was a roundup a week later. So I get that. So it's not quite as prevalent as it was. I don't know. I think there is still an element of we need to see some uptick a little bit. And do you know what? I think that's going to come as default anyway, because I think if you've got everything going out here terrestrially on the BBC in the UK, and then the rest of the world, they're all getting it via Disney Plus. That's that's a good, by default you're getting, I don't know, millions. I'm going to say hundreds of thousands. I don't know, but yeah. So I think, and I totally agree with you as well in that Russell will stay, but not necessarily be hands-on. It's a bit like a George Lucas thing, where he directed the first one, decided not to do the other ones, but stay on and still do like story and writing and bits and pieces. So yeah, I read you. Okie dokie. There was another bit of news. I'm not going to go through that. We haven't got much time, which was about all the missing episodes. There's been some commitment now to get a lot of those animated. Maria, you mentioned that when you went to the Underwater Menace about future animated stuff, which is all good. So let's move on to... I don't have any sound effects. I don't have any lightning strikes or bats flying around or anything. Or
Dun,
any...
dun, dun.
Perfect.
Top production values here.
So, creepy Doctor Who. We're going to give it our creepiest, scariest moments. If we get to somebody and they say, I think the scariest moments in Doctor Who is Blink, then you'll probably be removed from the podcast immediately. Just a heads up.
Oh,
Okay?
damn.
The Weeping Angels, yes, they're scary. Yes, they're scary. We all know that. We're not looking for the obvious, It's the bit where they don't look at you immediately, but then they do afterwards. So, who wants to go first? Who wants to do a virtual hands up for their creepiest moment in Doctor Who? Matt, straight in. God, it's creepy down in Devon, dude. All those fields, the moonlight, it's strong. No stars, you've got the dark skies thing going on.
The dark is actually dark
Anyway,
here as well.
what's your creepiest Doctor Who moment for you?
So I've got a couple, but I'll rattle through them. Main series, Night Terrors.
Okay, right.
Those dolls haunt my dreams. Dolls have always creeped me out anyway, but there's something about those dolls. It's nothing behind the eyes and the big head, and they're just clumsily, and the kid's voice and the clumsily walking towards you, and the horror, come and play with us sort of voice. It's just no, that's not for me. And when a certain somebody gets turned into one of them, no, nearly turned it off. But the non-main series would be The Ravenous from Big Finish. The Ravenous series is part of the Eighth Doctor's range, and they are some of the creepiest villains I've ever, not seen, but heard. They're sort of clown, they kind of resemble a clown, but they can, basically, they feed on Time Lords. They feed on their energy as such, but they're also this killer clown vibe that chases after them, and I don't know, it's the way that they've made it sound on audio. Something about it, it sends chills down your spine. Those and the Night Terror dolls. Nope, not for me.
Not for you. Okay. There's a couple of little jump scares in Night Terrors as well, isn't there? It's pretty good.
There is, yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, so I mean, that's another obvious one is the dolls from Night Terrors. But I'll give you that because it is genuinely pretty creepy as far as Doctor Who goes. Okay, nice one. Who wants to go next? Who wants to put their hand up? Who's going to go? Maria, you can go next. Look at her little face. She's ready. Here we go.
Okay. So I wasn't sure how many scary moments we were allowed. So I only thought I've only actually picked one. So I kind of thought the Impossible Planet, the Satan Pit. Those two episodes, there's something about them. And there are a couple of moments in them, especially in the first episode, that just kind of really creep me out. There's just something about the idea of the isolation that you get in that story. It's the whole thing. It's the tone of it, how dark it is. You've got these, scary Ood. Who are quite scary, to be honest. You've got this mythical creature that is before time. It's something that the TARDIS can't read the language that's on the wall of the what is it they call it? It's like a hub or a space hub or whatever it is they're in. You know, and there's just something very scary about those episodes for me. I think it's the idea of the creature, because the creature is something
Right.
that is so old, so ancient. It kind of feeds into these ideas about the devil and Satan and faith, and there's a couple of moments in the first episode. I think there's one where the devil creature is in the laboratory with Toby when he's examining some I think pottery.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
He's examining something, and the devil is behind him and asking him not to turn round. And of course, there's that temptation. And there's something about the music that they use. There's this kind of screeching kind of crescendo of sound, you know, as the creature is kind of getting closer and closer to him. And then, you know, he turns around and there's nothing there. And then he turns back, and then he's got this feeling on his hands, and he's taking his gloves off, and his hands are full of these really strange ancient symbols. So that moment kind of creeps me out. It's just the way it's filmed, I think, because of the angles that they're using and the way it's done. It's done in that kind of point of view. And the other one is when Scooty is kind of lured to the observation deck, and Toby's outside, and he's kind of tempting her outside. And there's just something in that scene. They use some violin music in that, which is really kind of quite effective and kind of builds that isolation. So yeah, that whole scene where he kind of tempts her, and then obviously she dies when he cracks the glass, and just the sense of that. I've just found those two episodes really kind of, for me personally, I find them quite creepy. I don't enjoy watching it as a story because it freaks me out a little bit. You know, with some of the imagery and the whole storyline, really. Yeah, it's just a creepy one for me.
Yeah, no, I read you. Yeah, that's a good one. So, yeah, and that's an interesting episode because I think all of the stuff throughout the bulk of it is very creepy and more unsettling. And then at the end, when they do the full creature CG reveal thing, that's not as scary. But the stuff before that is, yeah, definitely creepy. Good shout. Mark, I think you had your hand up before, dude. What are your thoughts?
So I'm going to go a bit pretentious here. So one of my favourite films of all time is George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead, right? It's a group of people in a shopping centre, there's zombies outside, and it's great. But what I love about George Romero films is that it's not the zombies that are scary. It's like what happens to you and the people you're with when you're in those kind of like extreme situations, right? And I think the two Doctor Who stories that best kind of encapsulate that, Midnight, obviously, Russell T Davis's like absolute masterpiece, because it works so well because for 3 series you've had David Tennant as, well, I'm the smartest guy in the room, and then he gets into this situation where it's just paranoia and fear and nobody knows what's going on, and the Doctor doesn't know enough to be that kind of reassuring presence that always ends up kind of winning the day. It's just phenomenal. It is one of the best bits of Doctor Who ever, I think. I remember Stephen Moffat saying it was the last Doctor Who he watched as a fan before he became showrunner, because it was the only one that he kind of didn't know what was happening in it, because obviously he had to kind of read the end of series 4, the special, so he kind of knew kind of how to plot the next series. And yeah, what a great thing that must have been, just as like your kind of last bit of Doctor Who before you have to start worrying about making Doctor Who. Because also, what a hell of a sort of benchmark to set as well. Must have been terrifying. And then the classic Doctor Who story that I think gets that across really well, and I never really picked up on it until I watched it again recently, but Kinda. There's a bit in that towards the end where Hindle has just gone completely insane. He's like wired the whole sort of dome to explode, and him and Sanders are just acting like children, but there's like really deadly explosives, and the Doctor's not entirely convinced he can get through to this guy and stop him just like committing genocide. It's quite a grown-up, terrifying thing that's kind of more sort of existential angst than kind of boo. So yeah, I like those kind of really kind of, oh my god, that's horrifying. People are terrible, aren't they? I like those kind of scares.
I see. Oh, dude, yeah. So yeah, Midnight say I'll just squeeze mine in because I had exactly the same episode. So yeah, for that very reason, because you don't see the outside thing that's menacing and messing with them, it's the slow deterioration of everyone's sanity and mindset within the capsule and the little transport thing, and the performances are just so good. Who's the actress that stars alongside him predominantly in that one? She gets
Leslie Sharp. Is it Leslie? I think it's Leslie Sharp. She was in Second Coming with Christopher Eccleston.
Yeah, that's her. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And there's the first bit for me where it gets proper creepy is when she starts to repeat what he's saying, and then it falls in sync, and then they start saying, it's really well done. So that's like a little masterclass in acting right there. Just that, Anyway, yeah, so that was mine as well, dude. Good shout. Harry or Jordan? Who's up? Go on, Jordan.
Okay, so I've got a couple. The first one is the Hemivores in The Curse of Fenric. I think are absolutely terrifying, and I don't know what it is about it. I think it's like the suckers and everything on them. I think it's terrifying because they look disgusting. And that story's always given me the creeps, and I don't know what it is about it, but it's just given me the creeps. And then another one, a Big Finish one, is there's a Seventh Doctor story called Night Thoughts, and it's Sylvester McCoy, Sophie Aldred, and then I think you had Philip Olivier as Hex in that one. And there's this little girl it's all weird. It's a bit like the Addams Family, but they're really off their rockers. And it's a little girl, and she's got this toy bunny, and she's always going, "Oh, Bunny says kill so-and-so," or Bunny said do this, and Bunny said do that. But it's so creepy. By the end of it, you think, well, can Bunny go and run off a short pier, please? Because it's really that story is quite creepy. But talking about Midnight, and I didn't register it until sort of quite recently. I think for me, what's so scary about that story is the fact that there is obviously something there with them, but you can't see it. And having gone ghost hunting, and I do that quite regularly, the idea that there is something in the room with you and you can't see it, but you can hear like boots running down a hallway or humming coming down the hallway. The idea that there's something there with you that you can't see is the most terrifying thing I think ever. And I think for me, that's a lot of the reason why Midnight works.
For that very reason. Yeah. I see. Okay, so you've probably been watching Uncanny, haven't you? With Danny Robbins.
Yeah, I really like that. I've thought about emailing him actually, because I'm like, I've got a few ghost stories that I could that I can't.
I'm going to see his show.
I could tell you.
Yeah, I managed to nab tickets to his show in Cambridge.
Oh yeah, I think he's coming down this way. I think he might even be coming to Portsmouth, so I might have to see about that because it is good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're a team believer, I assume. Not team.
Yeah. Yeah. There's things I've seen and experienced. I'm like, nah. People
We've
can
got
say
like our
you're
own
making it up, but I'm like, no, I was there for that.
Can this
happen.
be the podcast? Like this is great.
We've got our resident Ghostbuster. Yeah. This is amazing. Oh, you need your own intro music now.
I tell you what, we'll let Harry do his first, and I'll tell you a scary one.
Ooh. Oh, cool. Okay. Right, Harry, quickly. I'm joking. No, sorry. What are your?
I want to hear this scary
ones?
thing. Jordan's about to tell us. Now, do you know what? I really wish I picked Midnight now, because hearing you guys talk about it, it makes me think. I mean, when I was thinking about ideas for this, I was thinking about the things that really scared me when I was a kid, basically. Like Midnight didn't really. it didn't really scare me when I first watched it, but like something about it just hits differently when you're an adult. I think it's, you know how the older you get, like the more you realise how little you know. It's kind of Midnight taps into that fear of like, you know, the unknown, and because you literally do not see the monster, and it's just like, yeah, yeah, like Mark was saying, it's a phenomenal piece of television, like not just a phenomenal piece of Doctor Who. But yeah, in terms of kind of my pick, as it were, I was trying to think of the one time where Doctor Who like really really scared me, because Doctor Who doesn't really scare me if I'm being honest. Like I never hid behind the sofa. I never, you know, it never kept me up at night, apart from one episode, and it was Silence in the Library. That absolutely terrified me. Like I absolutely hated it, because the Vashnarada, like there's such a amazing idea. I don't understand why they were never brought back apart from like one of the adventure games, because they're just, you know, like you've got the implicit scares of, you know, like the dark, and like you can't see anything in it, and it's like you never know at what moment like you're going to be ripped apart, and you know, just the violence of that idea as well. But also you've got the kind of you know, really striking visual scares of like the skeletons in the spacesuits, and I think one of the things that really frightens me is like visual horror, like, you know, like really scary imagery like is enough to keep me awake at night, and just those, you know, skulking skeletons like around that cavernous library, like you know, it makes me kind of, gives me chills like just talking about it, thinking about it, to be honest. But yeah, so I'd probably say that, like I'd probably say Silence in the Library, specifically the Vashnarada. Like I think they are, you know, yeah, really really amazing idea by Stephen Moffat.
Cool. Have you not heard the Tom Baker's Big Finish story, Night of the Vashnarada? You not listened to
I
that?
have not. This sounds
it's
amazing.
Part of have I got it? Yeah.
Classic
it's part
Doctors,
of the
New Monsters.
Yeah, it's part of that box set. Yeah.
Right. Oh, I've got to listen to that. That sounds great.
Yeah.
There's Operation Dusk as well with Sylvester McCoy that has them in, and they were brilliant in that one.
Right.
Come on, Harry.
Pardon me while I make a note of these.
And I think there was a Christopher Eccleston one that was good, but I can't remember what that one was called. I think it's something like Red Darkness, Red Mist, Red something or other.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
amazed at how many Vashnarada audio plays there are, because they're not exactly the most. That's fascinating to me. Anyway,
Well, it's a bit like the Weeping Angels, and I know Gary said don't mention them, but they work really well on audio. And I don't quite know how they've made them work as an audio monster. But yeah, check out those Vashnarada stories, because they're very good.
I will do, or maybe I won't because I'll be too scared, but we'll see. If I'm feeling brave one day, I'll give it a listen.
Yeah, Harry, check them out. So you have to go to sleep with the light on.
Oh, I'm definitely not listening to them before I go to sleep, that's for sure. Have to put on a
Jordan.
Nice podcast after that. Jordan, tell us your scary story.
Jordan, quick ghost story.
Okay.
Quick.
So, where I used to work, we used to, it was sort of the summer of the year that I started, and Gary's plunged himself into darkness now. He's going to scare himself now. And I was up on my break one day, and they used to do this thing where if the lift had broken to take the stock upstairs, that you see, I would turn my light off as well, but I will literally just be in darkness and you will not see me.
I can't be bothered to turn mine off, that's why it's still on.
So the lift had broken, so that you weren't supposed to be bringing stock upstairs because it's all heavy boxes. And I'm up there on my break, and I heard this bang, and I thought, oh dear, you know, someone's come along and they've dropped a box. Thought nothing else of it. I went back to having my tea, and I heard the bang again. And I was like, oh, for God's sake, you know, what you doing? And then it was probably about 5-10 minutes went past, and then I heard the bang again. And I was like, right, okay, either someone is really clumsy, or, you know, a car's backfired, or something. And then it was a series of 3 knocks, but it was being repeated and repeated and repeated. It was like bang, bang, bang. bang, 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 bang. But it was getting closer and closer and closer to the staff room that I was in. But you could genuinely feel the room shaking. It was so loud. And by this point, I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I wish I could go back in time and film it, because it was the most terrifying thing I think I've ever heard in all my life. But it was, and then it was on like the staff room door, but you could see the door shaking. And this went on for about a good 5-10 minutes. This noise was going on, and I'm just sat there like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And it was sort of thing where I thought, if I open that door, something is just going to fly at me. And there was something that was just like, do not open that door. Anyway, it stopped just as suddenly as it had started. When it stopped, I registered, oh, hang on, the lights in the warehouse are motion censored. If that had actually been a person physically making that noise, those lights would have come on. So I finished my lunch and I quickly leg it downstairs and I tell people what had happened. And one of the duty managers said, she went, well, the people who live opposite the shop, she said, they will come in the morning and they will ask, have you had someone in overnight? And they'll be like, no, why? And they'll say, because we can see the windows for the staff room from our like bedroom window. They said all night long, the lights will just go on and off and on and off. She said, and then sometimes people will say that they've seen a figure in one of the windows, just a solid black figure in the window. And so that kind of like piqued my interest. So a couple of months went by, and there was the odd thing. People would come up to me and say, there was like a shadow that went across the warehouse. Now, bear in mind, the warehouse, there are no windows in the warehouse, so it's not anything from outside, and it was all open plan. So if it was someone mucking about, you would be able to see that it was someone mucking about. Fast forward to that same year, but it was about Christmas time, and it's kind of gone from my head. I remember it happening, but I'd kind of sort of tried to get past it because I was working there. And I'm like, I can't be terrified to go up to the warehouse every 5 seconds. I've had my break. I go out down some stairs, and I could have only seen this for about 2-3 seconds, but honest, as cliche as it's going to sound, it felt like an absolute lifetime. In front of me was this person who, now back then I had quite big bushy curly hair, sort of quite a round face like mine, but had sort of a big-ish, bushy-ish beard. It had a top that was like a red, almost like a farmer's jacket type thing, with the not tartan, but it's that pattern. It had eyes that were like black ink. There was no light in them whatsoever. And it had the mouth came up, like the Joker when he sort of cuts his mouth and when he smiles, it sort of comes up quite high. And it had this stuff that was coming out of its mouth as it did it. And I just stood there and I froze. And it literally was only for like a second or two. And just like that, gone. So, and I legged it downstairs. But again, everybody was downstairs, nobody upstairs. There is no way for people to come in. And for me, that was the last. There was another big thing for me that happened, but for a while, that was it. But other people were saying that they would come out because all the alarms would go off overnight, so they'd have to go out and check to make sure no one had broken in. They would open the back door and step over this black mass that was on the floor. And they said it wasn't until we registered, turned round, there was nothing. But people would describe it as like a black bin bag full of like stuff that wasn't there. People would keep on saying, I've seen shadows. There was a black shadow that ran from one side to the other. I think there was a couple of new girls that came in and said that when they went to go up to the toilet, there was someone whispered in their ears, or they felt like they were being touched on the shoulder, as one of them said their hair felt like someone had stroked their hair. We had a couple of people come in over another Christmas that were doing stock for us because we didn't have enough people to do the stock and the tills. And she was a great burly sort of Irish woman. She was tough looking lady. Me and my friend Caitlin were downstairs filling the lift, sending the lift up for her to empty. And all of a sudden we heard this almighty great scream. And she came legging it downstairs. And we were like, whoa, what's happened? And she went, she said, I heard what sounded like children's footsteps running along the floor. She went, I thought, that's weird. There shouldn't be children up here. So she turned round, she said, and there was this black wall of just darkness. She went, and it just like hit me in the face. She said, and my head was just filled with the most violent thoughts that you could possibly imagine. And and she didn't go up there again. They were there for a good couple of weeks, and she would not go up there ever again. And we had another load of people who were changing the layout for the shop. And this young lad, I mean, I'm 27, he must have been about 22, 23. He was told to come and see me on an evening, and he said that there was a woman he'd gone up to make everybody a cup of tea. And he said that he could hear this woman whispering in his ear. And he thought that it was the manager had come up and was like, what are you doing? Whatever. He said, and I turned around, there's nobody there, but I could continuously just hear this whispering. Anyway, again, all this sort of little things kept happening. Fast forward to, I think it was last year, and I was going upstairs, and I could feel this. The only way I can describe it is like someone took the top of my head off and was tickling my brain. It felt like someone had hold of my brain and was just like tickling it. And I stopped for a minute because I thought, that I feel really sick. Whatever that is, it's just making me feel really ill. So I stopped and I turned, and from where the light was, there was my shadow. I think I had when you sort of stand and you've got like 3 shadows. And from behind my main shadow, this black shadow just stepped out from behind me, turned so you could see its sort of forehead, its nose, its chin, and its sort of shoulders, and it walked in the direction of what was a wall, but I later found out was actually an entrance to an old office that's not there anymore. They bricked it up. And that was sort of the last big thing for me, but I will never forget the knocking sound, that banging sound. I think will haunt me till the day I die. The figure was scary, but that knocking sound, I think, is what's going to absolutely terrify me. Doing a bit of investigating, I found out that the land that this shop that I worked in was on was where the gallows were on Hayling. So you sort of got this great big site where sort of hundreds of, and there are some funny people on Hayling, so there would have been hundreds of thousands of people probably got hung. It also used to be swamp and sort of marshland, and during like the plague, you had so many dead bodies that they would just dump them in this swamp, and they would hire people to come along with sticks. And when the tide came in, the bodies would come up, and they would push the bodies back under the swamp. So it's a land that's got a lot of death associated to it anyway. But we've also had quite a few people used to commit suicide. There was someone who broke in and hung themselves. There was someone who jumped off a motorbike and came crashing through the window. And I think there was a few customers that we had that dropped dead, I think, when they refurbished it. So there were quite a few things. And then that sort of fueled my interest. And since then I've gone on quite a few ghost hunts and sort of seen quite a few bizarre things, heard quite a few bizarre things. I think we were down a tunnel once in a fort up on one of the hills near me, and it was used in World War II, and someone said, I'm going to try and thingy an air raid siren. So they found an air raid siren on their phone, played it, and you heard what sounded like hundreds of pairs of boots running down one of the corridors. Not bats, because it didn't sound like bats. It sounded, there was no mistaking feet on rubble. And in the same place, we were actually in the fort, and we could hear a woman humming, and she's going, and she's coming round the corner towards us because there's nowhere else to go. We're all like backing up. We're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. There's someone coming around the corner. Nothing there. Nobody came around that corner, but good 6 or 7 people heard this humming noise. But yeah, the shop that I worked in was terrifying for a number of reasons, but mainly because there was something going on there. And it wasn't just me that experienced it. There was a lot of people that experienced it.
Oh, Jordan, that is so terrifying.
Jordan, you've just...
Jordan's actually told me this before, and now that he's mentioned it again, I think I'm going to be having nightmares tonight. But it was just... it's really funny what you're saying about the steps along the tunnel, because I went to Jersey a few years ago, and you go and visit the old hospital there, and they've got some tunnels that actually come out from the hospital, and they actually play the soundtrack of people moving around in the tunnels as you're walking through them. It's a quite eerie feeling, and I can imagine, what it was like for you actually experiencing something like that. Must be terrifying.
Because those hospitals are terrifying, because there's one on Guernsey that's the same. And there's no mistaking that sound either. No mistaking that sound. You know that you've heard boots on rubble and shingle and running as well. There's no mistaking that.
Crikey. Right, well, 2 things to say on that, Jordan. Number one, you've missed... We haven't missed, but there's a great opportunity there for you to do your own podcast, because we were all captivated by that. We just sat here like just mesmerised by those. So if you've got more stories to tell,
because obviously, if this shop that you used to work at, has anybody done like a podcast or a blog or?
I used to do all these investigations in there, and we used to call him the thing that was there. We used to call him Robert, because he was one of the people that had committed suicide. So if something was going on, we used to be like, "Oh, Robert, pack it in," and it would stop.
Jesus Christ!
But where was this?
It's on Hailing. I won't mention. No, I will.
No, obviously, yeah.
Southern Co-op on Hailing.
Oh, okay.
But that actual building is quite old as well, so I'm not surprised that there is stuff that goes on there. But I did a few things. I downloaded a couple of apps and things on my phone, and you sort of let the first sort of few words go, because the app is just trying to figure itself out. But you sort of ask questions, and it will come back to you with a response that is right. But what I will try and do is I will try and do my research on my laptop and not my phone, so people can't then say, "Oh, it's my phone flicking through everything to find the relevant information because I've used a different thing." But I think when that shop possibly one day shuts down, I think it would be very interesting to actually go in there and sort of try and do a proper investigation. And I think there was a couple of members of staff who used to muck around with a Ouija board in there as well, so that probably didn't help.
God. Asking for trouble.
I'll tell you what, folks. Never mind a group trip to the BFI. Let's go on a group trip to this co-op.
Jordan, we're coming down, mate. Next weekend.
Nothing in the world is dragging me down there.
We'll bring Danny Robbins.
We'll bring Danny. Yeah.
Oh, dear.
God, that was amazing, Jordan. Thank you.
I'll never forget that banging noise until the day I die. That will haunt me until the day I die.
Yeah, for sure. So the first thing is you need to get a podcast happening ASAP, because you're in for some big listening numbers. And secondly, Russell, we know you listen. There's your next creepy Doctor Who episode. It's all written for you. It's all there.
Copyright Jordan.
Copyright Jordan.
Yeah, watch everybody steal my thing now.
So, what a bonus episode this turned out to be, listener. Not only have you got some great recommendations to go and check out some creepy Doctor Who moments, if you've not seen them, you've been entertained by one of our own, resident Ghostbuster. Come on.
I like to think of myself as like a Zach Bagans until I get into it and I'm more like Yvette Fielding. And I'm going around screaming and like, ah! But I think I'm brave, a little bit braver than that, but I do think I'm probably more like Yvette Fielding than one of these like macho ghost hunters that you see on the telly.
Oh, very cool. Thank you for that, dude. It's yeah, I'm glad I've put the lights back on now. So, right. If nobody has any other creepy stories to tell, I think we'll wrap there. Shall we wrap there for the October Roundtable? Thank you for listening to another episode of the Big Blue Box Podcast. That was the October Roundtable, and thank you to these guys. These are always the stars of the show with their Doctor Who knowledge, experience, expertise, qualifications perhaps, I'm not sure, and some ghost stories. Who'd have thought it? Who'd have thunk it, eh? Tenuous link. It's the Halloween special, and we're into some ghost stories. I love it. Thank you, Jordan, for that. That was awesome. If you like listening to the Roundtable and some of the other Blue Box episodes until we get back to our regular view, make sure that you are following and subscribing in your preferred podcast app of choice. That way you won't miss an episode when they land monthly for the Roundtables. And when we get back into the swing of things in November, it'll be the weekly stuff as we review all of the specials as well as they go out. And for the November Roundtable, we'll probably talk about those, I would imagine. If we do it at the end of November, we can all talk about those specials. So make sure you're following and subscribing. We're on the socials too, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. There are links on the website, which is bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can check out all the articles from these guys as well. And we've got a couple coming up this week, both from Maria, I think, some event roundups and whatnot. So check those out as well. I'll also stick links in the show notes to these guys, where they are on Twitter and what else they do and all that stuff. So until next month for the November Roundtable, take care of yourselves, guys, and remember, are we all doing it? We are doing it.
We're all doing it.
One day we'll get that right.